I'm John Sicotte, executive editor of the Brewer magazine. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer magazine podcast. Make sure that you're liking and subscribing to both our YouTube and Spotify to keep up with all of the latest podcasts right here for the Brewer magazine. Well, you know what? Denver Beer, they've been a fixture in the craft beer industry now for about 13 years. And that Colorado-based brand is set to expand. They're going to be going into Phoenix, and they're doing a brand new venture called Formation Brewing. So we get to hear about all the vision behind this move, including strategic planning that went into it, as well as what makes this brewery special, like its unique patio-style interior and standout food program featuring Detroit-style pizza. We're also going to dive into Denver Beer's focus on collaboration, local ingredients, and community engagement as they continue to grow. Well, we in Robert MacEachern of Denver Beer and the new Formation Brewing. Robert, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, John, thanks for having me.
Well, first, kind of give the background. You've almost going up on 2 years as CEO at Denver Beer, and give yourself a little introduction and how things are going for DBC.
Yeah, it's been a little less than 2 years since I've been in Denver here. I have a pretty long history in the hospitality industry. And I moved here from the East Coast, and you'll probably pick that up through our conversation as a Bostonian. But yeah, I moved here about 2 years ago and, really started diving into what I feel was, and still feel is this great opportunity to, build up a brand that's already been very established here in Denver, right? So, so it's been a pretty interesting 18 months. It's been a constant learning situation where I'm always learning new things and pushing myself to learn new things because I really didn't work in the beer industry before this, but again, building organization and building brand is kind of my strength.
And that's kind of the thing that, we're going to be talking about is just because of the fact that you guys are building kind of a new brand. Of course, this is nothing new to Denver Beer as they've, I've been to the location. They have like a Mexican cantina styled brewery as well. So when you walked into this and now you guys are working to enter the Phoenix market with Formation Brewing, kind of what was the background and how are you guys working towards this and why did you work towards this?
Yeah, so, it's interesting. When I think about growth, it's just not like pushing the gas pedal, right? It's just not going, let's go fast, right? There has to be a plan and a vision that you got to live into, and there's got to be opportunity. And so, we've really spent 13 years, not just building Denver Beer Co., but different models, right? We have cerveceria, we have tap rooms with just tap rooms and beer, no food. We have them with brew houses without brew houses, right? So there's different models. And I think when you want to grow a brand, you've got to make sure you have that right model, right? And you've got to make sure that it's something that the consumer wants. And so that iteration process has been going on for 13 years for us. And so although it seems a bit contrarian right now, especially where the industry is, we feel that we've positioned ourselves, not just here in Denver, which we have this amazing relationship with, but the ability to live into a vision, live into our plan, and that is to grow more regionally. And Phoenix just really is a place that we feel has got a great beer scene now, but we still feel like there's room to grow in it. And it's an emerging market from a lot of perspectives. So we are, we did a lot of research and we did a lot of brand study and really ended up looking at Phoenix as our next home.
And I would assume that, with a name like Denver Beer Company, it almost makes more sense to be able to go into a market with a name other than Denver Beer, because there are things where people have geographically bound themselves almost in a name, being able to come outside of that, but still find growth. Sure, you guys could have, and I'm sure you have some territory there for sales on the shelf and, tap handles, but being able to have the margin that having a brewery on site to bring people into is obviously a key motivator, especially nowadays with the way the market has gone, that it does make more sense to open up a tap room versus just trying to build yourself in the market for often on premise.
Yeah, I mean, so where you were talking about this iteration process, right? And Our two founders, Charlie and Patrick, are very intelligent guys, and they've been they've been adamant and advocates of this iteration process, right? The ability to learn and grow, and not just in space, but in knowledge, right? And experience. And one of the things we found over the last several years is that our strength is centered around beer, but also building experience. And for us, that's become really our path for growth, right? Is that tap room experience. We're just great at it, right? We have over 50 events a year. We have these amazing tap rooms. We have these amazing patios, and it's really about bringing people together. That unity perspective that we believe drives brand. Now, listen, having beer on the shelves is awesome, but what we have found is having those tap rooms reaches more people, and it creates an experience and a connection with the brands. And so you talk about, this name and kind of geographically locking yourself in. It was not just that for us, but it was also how do we immerse ourselves in the Phoenix market? And so that's really was the process for us, is that we identify that experiences a growth potential. And it's kind of like I said just a little bit ago, right? It's about, okay, well, you just don't push the gas pedal. You just don't go fast. You've got to have that plan and that vision, and there has to be opportunity. And we see that with a very localized brand in Phoenix.
Yeah. And with the name, where did Formation Brewing come from, and kind of how is that going to reflect what the brand's identity is?
Yeah, so I mean, it's got a little bit dual meaning for me, right? I mean, it definitely speaks to the outdoors, right? I mean, you see the rock formations in Phoenix are beautiful, and it just really lends itself to the outdoors. But again, it's about coming together, right? Meeting people and having friends and meeting new people and making new friends and forming those relationships that really allow our tap rooms to stand out. And so, it was a dual meaning really for us as we went through our brand studies. The word formation has, so many meanings, but for us especially, it's about speaking to the outdoors along with, forming these new relationships that we're going to not only form with our customers, but the community, right? Our employees, our brewer, our chef, all those things. So yeah, we're excited about not just the name Formation, but what it means to us.
Yeah. So, kind of give us a layout of what the brewery is going to be about, and, what pieces, from previous locations did you be like, yep, this is something that can translate over. It's a good part to have. I mean, what are going to be the key elements of what Formation is going to be in Phoenix?
Yeah. So again, we our tap rooms are, known for patios right here in Denver, right? I mean, if you've been to our Downing Street location, for example, it has this amazing patio, right? All of them are really lean into patios. And in Phoenix, we took a different approach, right? From an aesthetic, we looked at it. We are going to have a patio, but we're going to create a space that allows us to. It feels almost like you're in a patio while you're inside, right? So the aesthetic and the makeup of the building itself, right? The whole design, I think, is going to contribute quite a bit to that experience. And then again, we have 13 years of running tap rooms, right? We got a lot of knowledge. So we brew great beer. We have, again, 50 events. We're going to have such cool events. I don't know if you've been down to Roosevelt Row in Phoenix, but boy, it's like Rhino used to be, right? Or Rhino is even emerging, where it is like, full of art, full of music, right? There's street art everywhere. It's just very artistic and fun and energetic. And we're going to capitalize on that. We're going to have some great events. I mean, we have some great events now. I mean, one of my favorites is beer, bacon, and coffee. And 9 o'clock in the morning, you get up and you pay for a ticket and all the beer and you can drink and reasonably, and all the bacon and burritos you can have. So if you want some coffee, I guess there's that too. But yeah, so we're going to do some great events and lean into those things. And I think we're going to take the last 13 years and take some of those things, but then we're going to see what the community wants, right? And see where that lends us. And the other thing I would add is that we're going to lean into our food program even more. I think we've created quite a food program here in Denver, but we're going to add to that, and we're going to see where that takes us, because we believe that has a lot of legs.
And like you talked about the location, how important was it to be a part of that part of Phoenix and not try to build something yourself away from other breweries or away from other locations? Was that kind of a key part of it as well?
Yeah, when we looked at market and trade areas and trade area selection, this one just stood out to us. This was by far, when I looked through the Phoenix market, this is definitely where we wanted to establish ourselves. And it's right down the street from ASU Medical, right? There's, like I said, a ton of art and music that it just makes that neighborhood vibrant. They have an event called First Friday, and the first Friday of every month, they shut the street down. And John, I mean, if there weren't 8 to 10,000 people there when I was there roaming the streets and having fun, there weren't 500. I mean, it was amazing. And so it's just that kind of energy that we really try to live into. So yeah, it took us a bit to find the right spot. We have a great real estate agent down in Phoenix that knows the market like the back of her hand, and she really helped us kind of position ourselves there.
How about when it comes to the liquid itself? Obviously 13 years of experience putting out some great beers under the Denver beer name. I mean, do you guys go in with your Denver beer to open? Are you creating new recipes? What's the brew team going to be a part of this?
Yeah, we're going to create new recipes. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to sell that to a brewer, right? And so, and they're excited about it, right? I mean, we're excited about it. We've already, we have brewers already working with some, prickly pear recipes and sours, and we're going to have a great lager. We'll have a hazy. We'll have, a West Coast, right? But we're going to lean into it. We have some experience with that, right? You brought Cerveceria up before, right? I mean, that brand was built off of pushing status quo, right? It was built off of, we have a relationship with Mexican brewers that we fly in. I don't know if you're going to be at GABF this year, but Saturday night session is going to be really at Platt Street. That is our great Mexican beer fiesta, and it is, it's a huge party. And we built that brand through relationship and authenticity. And I think we're going to lean into that same thing in Phoenix.
Phoenix is a market, like you said, it's emerging. There's a lot of breweries there already. How are you guys finding your niche and, kind of knew that you could be successful there and not have to feel like you're struggling right out of the gate and can actually try to build something quick?
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever, I don't know if it's ever going to be quick, right?
Right.
But I definitely have felt since we've been there and immersing ourselves in that market that, very much like the rest of the craft beer world, where, coming from the outside of the craft beer world, it's pretty closed off, right? You're in your space, you're in your company. It is like, yeah, move out of my way. The craft beer world is very collaborative. And so, when we started to go to Phoenix and we started meeting other brewers and going to other breweries, it's been very welcoming. I mean, it's just like it is here in Denver. And so I don't feel like I'm estranged in any way from the market or distance from it because of that. I feel like we're kind of finding our way. And I think we're going to position ourselves the way we have for 13 years here. And that is, we're going to use local ingredients. We are going to make great beer. I mean, we have an experience, a lot of experience in brewing beer. We just won the gold medal for Cerveceria Zvenga. And so we are, and God knows in Phoenix you need a nice cold lager in the summer. But we're going to position ourselves as a great beer company. And then we're going to make beers that the community wants. And again, we're going to lean into food. We are going to food. I think is important. I think we've established, or at least I've established, that we're trying to have different ways for people to come out and use our tap rooms, right? I think we can't, it's hard to create a sustainable model where it's just, a garage door and we go in, we get tables and we come in and have, some beers and that's it. We're doing it, we're doing well with it, but how do you grow it and how do you make it sustainable? And my belief is you have to have a place or a space where people can come in for multiple different reasons. So whether that is for lunch, whether it's for dinner, whether it's just to have a couple of beers, have beers and wings, whatever that looks like. So we're gonna lean into that food program. And so again, we're beer centric. We make great beer, and that gets us in the doorway.
And you brought it up earlier. Obviously, you're kind of new to the industry, and I always like talking when people kind of come in after working in so many different roles at different, more, I would say, cutthroat type of industries where, like you said, the information isn't shared. I know I just talked with a friend of mine who's opening up a second location here in the Toledo area, and his background, he was a contractor, so like he does obviously a lot of building for their tap room, but he goes, it's funny to, I would never share information with another contractor on what I'm doing for a job. But when it comes to this, you walk in, they start telling you, here's what we bought, here's how much we paid for it, this is how we're making it. Was that something that you had to be prepared for? Like when you were applying for the job to do CEO with Denver Beer, and they're like, listen, this is a completely different marketplace. Did you know about that going in, and how have you worked through that?
Yeah, I remember sitting with Charlie, and Charlie, we're talking about, Charlie Berger, one of the founders, and we're talking about, coming on board and the difference between like the hospitality world, geez, even the East Coast, right? and one of the things he said, we are oversharers. And I guess I was like, okay, you're gonna tell me about your private life, right? But it didn't click until I went to my first collab fest. Right. And it was before the collab fest, and we're doing different collabs with people. And there, I mean, it was like, there's no trade secret, and it was and I will tell you that initially I was leery of it until some of my leadership team was like, I think we should kind of look at this a little differently. And then I had to take a new look at it. And now it's just part of what we do every day. Right. And I think that it's a fascinating dynamic that, coming from the hospitality world in the retail space, I think some of these industries or some of these segments probably could learn a little bit from, a rising tide lifts all ships, right? So.
And speaking of food, it is becoming one of those things where you also have to find a differentiating factor there. There are a lot of brew pub concepts that have kind of bar food. How do you elevate that and be able to still keep it in line with people that want to come and enjoy beer as well? I mean, are you guys finding unique dishes or localizing a regional thing? I mean, what is the food program that you feel is going to be pushing this to?
Yeah, so you're exactly right. And I think, pushing that status quo is so critical, right? I mean, it's this constant iteration process, right? And especially food for our industry, it's, relatively new. So we go through a process, a menu development process, where we change the menu 4 times a year, sometimes 5. And that menu is driven, or that menu development process is driven by beer release, right? So all our food is in some way connected to our beer. So that process, we implemented about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. And so we're keeping, we have our core items, but we continue to keep our menu fresh by adding great product. And when we get to Phoenix, we're looking at doing different things, because to your point, we can go down to a tap room down the street and they'll have a hamburger. Okay, well, what is our differential, right? It's going to be a great hamburger. We have that. We're looking at leaning into pizza. We're looking at having that and having a Detroit style pizza that, like Buddies, right? In Detroit, it is a I think it's a great product to solve for a lot of things, and it will help us solve for things like delivery. It'll help us solve for things like to go, and it'll also help us look at how that drives check, right? But on the return of that, it increases the reason why to come to Formation Brewery, right? It does just another reason why to come to Formation, and so we're pretty excited about it. And we have a great culinary team, and I think that our differential will be threefold. I think the experience inside the tap room, the fantastic beers we make, and the food.
Well, that's awesome. Now, when it comes to what you guys are going to do, will this be on premise only? Are you guys looking to get into canning, get into distribution? I mean, is that a forward-thinking process right now?
Yeah, that's all part of the model. Yeah, I mean, we believe that to grow a brand, it happens more quickly, right? With taproom experience, and so. But our goal is to have full distribution in Phoenix. We've met with distributors there already, and that process is well underway. It's it's on the 10-yard line right now, and so we are. We intend to have a full ecosystem in Phoenix in the years to come.
Yeah. Well, awesome. And now, what's the timeline for things for Formation? How are things progressing? I know it's always we'll wait and see until we can see and get it going. What's your latest timeline? And we probably know it'll change.
Oh yeah, I'd be a liar if I told you any of the exact date, right?
Right.
We'll be open in 2024. And this I know. We're at full construction mode right now. Our brew system is already in Phoenix, and our kitchen equipment's already in Phoenix, and so we will be open in 2024. The date, I wish I could tell you. There's a lot of people that wish I could tell them that, but to your point, and again, John, this is off campus for us, right? We are, we're Denver based, and it's a different dynamic for the organization. Now, not for me, because I've worked not just across the country, but globally. So I understand that dynamic, but it's still a lot of lift, because when you have a team that you've built that necessarily is new to it, you've got some challenges, but targets 2024.
Well, excellent. Well, sounds things are going well. Obviously, it's always a wait and see game. I know how it goes. So I'm sure you're really anxious to be able to cut that ribbon coming up soon here at the end of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I think this will, validate a lot for us as far as not just, who we are as a team, right? Which is just such a big team effort and such a big lift for all of us. But I think it'll also tell us where organizationally we are for a growth brand, but in some ways the industry also, right? I think there'll be there are folks I'm sure watching to see if this is successful or not, because the significant headwinds we've been facing over the last 2 years, right, have been rough, and I think us doing this hopefully builds a path for a lot of folks. And so we're excited to open her up and get operating down in Phoenix and see what happens next.
Awesome. Well, Robert, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, John, it was great talking to you. Great talking about Michigan also. And Red Sox fan.
Yes.
Awesome.
Don't forget, you can always check on brewermag.com. You can also see us on YouTube and listen to us on Spotify. And don't forget daily updates on Facebook, Instagram, and X. I'm Executive Editor John Sicotte for brewermagazine.com.